Hey guys, how are you? First ever full episode, or kind of full episode, of Big BRI No Holds Barred. This show, I've got to say a few things before we get started. Number one, when I speak here, it's only for me. It's only from me. I don't represent any organization, any group, anybody else. Everything I say is all me. You don't like it? Blame it on me. You love it? Give me the credit. It just is what it is. I think we're going to do a few formats on this show. Number one, sometimes I'm just going to come on here and talk to you. I'm just going to say things that I feel like need to be said, either because I feel like it needs to be said or the hobby is begging for it to be said. Sometimes they'll just be shorts, where I got 2 or 3 minutes of just rant and rave, and you just got to hear it. And sometimes I'll have killer interviews. I am working on 2 or 3 interviews right now that will blow your freaking mind. They're people that people in the hobby are talking about incessantly, but no one has ever talked to the person. I'm also talking to some of the biggest people in hobby history who've never been interviewed about massive events, and I'm going to get them to talk right here. It's going to be the bomb. But today, episode 1, what's Leaf going to do without me? That's the question. I got to tell you, as I get started here, and again, when I talk on my own, it's unscripted. Nothing is written down, nothing is planned. I'm just going to talk. So you're going to get me raw and unfiltered. No holds barred, right? If I script it, I'm holding back. There's no holding back. So, first things first. As you know, I'm no longer the Leaf CEO. I retired. I'm doing some things for fun, but I've retired. It was time to move on. And so people ask me, what is Leaf going to do without you? And I thought to myself, what's Leaf going to do without me? And then it made me think about a lot of things that needed to be thought about. From the time I was a kid, I always wondered, would I ever really die someday? Because, if you think about it, it's hard to imagine the world going on without me, right? I mean, and you? Do you ever think the world really could just go on without you? Goodbye. Joe Smith's gone. Oh well, next. But it's gone on thousands of years with a lot of people going through that before me. It's gonna, and I've come to the realization it's gonna happen way beyond me. I learned that a long time ago. But when you found a business, when you start something from scratch, you sometimes think, well, it can't exist without me. And if I'm not there anymore, oh my God, what's gonna happen to my legacy? And I sweated with this. The first 2 or 3 weeks I left, I was like, oh my God. My legacy is at risk because I don't control it anymore. The guys are controlling it. What's going to happen to my legacy? Well, guess what? That's not my legacy. My legacy ended the day that I said, guys, I just have to get away for a while. I just have to be done. I can't sit in an office all day, every day. I've done it for 40 years. I can't do it anymore. 30 years, whatever. I can't do it anymore. I got to be done. It's killing me emotionally. Working 20 hours a day, it's too much. I'm too emotionally involved in the business and not enough emotionally involved outside of the business. I never gave my family 100% because I gave Leaf, and before that, Razor, and before that, Edgeman, and before that, 100%. It's time to give the rest of my life 100%. So I thought to myself, oh no, my legacy is at risk. All this work I did is at risk now. But then I realized that's not my legacy. The day I retired was the end of my legacy there. Not the end of my legacy even. It was the end of my Leaf part of my legacy. For too long, I let work and the hobby be my legacy. That's over. The Leaf and the hobby should never have been my legacy. It should have been a piece of my legacy. A piece of who I was. A piece of how people will remember me someday when there's a rock in the ground and I'm under it. The fact is, I let Leaf define me. I let Razor define me. I let Edgeman define me. I let being a show dealer back in the 1990s define me. That wasn't me. That was never all me. I was a dad. I was a husband. I was a friend. I was a mentor. I was a member of a Bible study group. I was a member of all these things. I was a volleyball dad. Now I'm a referee. I'm all these things. But all these things came second to Leaf CEO. I was a Leaf CEO, the rebirth of Leaf founder, the man who bought ProSet, the man who did all these hobby things. None of that really matters in eternity, and very little of it matters in my legacy. It's a piece, a little tiny piece. And man, I blew it. I spent my whole life trying to make that my legacy, and it was wrong. And that's why I'm retired, if you must know. It's time. That's not my legacy anymore. Now, once I finally woke up a few weeks after I retired, it took me 3 weeks to retire. I was depressed. I was bummed. I was like, oh my God, what am I going to do? Is with my legacy? What am I going to do with my time to keep mentally focused? And this is part of it. But like, what about my legacy now? And then once I came to the realization that that's not my legacy, it never was. It was a piece of my legacy. But now that I'm retired, this is someone else's legacy now. The staff running the company, it's their legacy. This is now Josh Pankow, Greg Cohn, Jim Kohler, all the key people there. CJ Breen, all the guys who are monster key people there. And our new CEO coming on there. This is their legacy era they're starting. But not their whole legacy, just a piece of their legacy. And I pray that, unlike me, they don't make that their legacy. And I don't think they will, because they're much more even-keeled, balanced than I've ever been. I've been out of control, radically imbalanced. So the reality is, I now have to say, that's not my legacy. Much like Barry Sanders, who one day just said, I'm done. His legacy is not what Jared Goff is doing now, although he's doing pretty good. It's not what Jared Goff's doing, or what DeAndre Swift did, or what Jamal Williams does, or what Sam Laporta does. That's not his legacy. Whether the Lions ever win a Super Bowl 20 years, 30 years from now, that's not part of his legacy. Amon-Ra's success is not part of his legacy. His legacy, end of the day, he walked off the field. And he walked off on top. And that's when I realized, you know what? I left the game in a pretty damn good time. Leaf had record profits in 2022 and having a great year in 23. At the time I left, having a great year. We did so many amazing things. But the key thing there is we did those things. This is another place that I felt very convicted over the last couple of months of being retired. The hobby gave me huge props when I did good things. They tore me up when I did bad things. But when I did good things, they gave me huge, huge props. And you know what? I feel a great sense of guilt that I didn't share that more. And yeah, I told people in the office, hey, good job. And yeah, I'd go on Jeremy Lee's podcast and say, hey, Greg Cohn's the best product designer in the business, best product development guy in the business. I'd say things like that. But I took a lot of credit for what we, capital W-E, did. I took credit for that. Not because I was selfish and wanted all the accolades for me, but the hobby said Leaf is Brian Gray. Brian Gray is Leaf. We were synonymous. When you said Leaf, the first name that came to mind was Brian Gray. And I took that Kool-Aid and drank it and said, hey, you know what? Leaf is Brian Gray. But what I did in that time is I recognize that what I did is, by not always, and I mean always, being a we kind of company, I let it become a me kind of company, and that was not right. The fact is, I have the best team in the business. No doubt about it. And that's why when I found guys that I thought were incredible, I don't care what anyone else said, I had to have them because they were the best. When I saw a kid with potential, we had to have the guy because I knew we would kill. When I knew we could get a great employee from another company and he was awesome, we did what it took to get the best. We paid them like they were the best. I felt like I treated them like they were the best. I don't know that I did because I knew they were the best, but I think sometimes I took them for granted. Well, guess what? The first part of what will Leaf do now is me saying, I hope the first thing Leaf does is that the people there recognize that I'm really sorry if I did not show you and tell you every day how much I love you, number one, but how incredible the staff is. Freaking incredible. What we did. Even the things that I probably did, and there were some that I spearheaded, even those would never have happened without Greg, Josh, Jim, CJ, Joe, Adam, Mike. I mean, you name the whole team. And that's the fact. The fact is they wouldn't have been executed the way they were, with good precision, without every other piece. And that's when I was the creative. We've had other creatives in the company who came up. Greg Cohn's come up with amazing stuff. Josh has come up with amazing stuff. And when they have, we've executed those things. Not because they just came up with the idea and it just happened. We executed these things. And the fact is, I had some spectacular misses where I did things that people were like, what is wrong with this guy? That's either in bad taste or not very well thought out or stupid. And you know what? I've also learned that that's not the time to say we. Because the buck stopped here. It's me. When we failed, it was me. But when we succeeded, it was we. And I truly believe that. So I'm done making a big deal about the Leaf guys. They're incredible. And that's why I'm about to tell you what is Leaf going to do now that I'm gone? I think they're going to be really successful. And I'm not just saying that because I was there and because I was part of the early years. I could easily go the other way on this. The fact is, the guys, the top two guys right now, Jim and Greg, and our incoming Josh and Greg, and the incoming CEO, I'm telling you now, they're going to kill it. Why? Because they've taken many of the incredible things we've done the last 10 years, and they're running with it. Then, they're coming up with new and really creative things that they're making their own. And I'm really impressed with what they've done so far. And they're going to not do a lot of things that I did. Now, some people will say, if they don't do the Brian stuff was really creative. Again, that was we stuff. Some of it sticks and some of it sinks. Some of it stays and some of it goes. Not always because it failed, but because we want to have a different image. When the company was under my leadership, I wanted to be the company people talked about because I did not care. I did what I thought was best. I made creative things, and I knew someone would collect them, and some people wouldn't, and I didn't really care. As long as the people who did collect them loved them, I wanted to make them. And that became the culture of Leaf, as we wanted to make them. Leaf will be different. It will be different without me. But guess what? The dam in the ground with a rock sitting over me, it'll be the world will be different too. My family will be different then. But the fact is, different is not worse. And also, I didn't realize that. In my moment of retirement, like, oh my God, I can't believe I'm stepping away from a business, spend my whole life ahead of everything else. I also recognized that, different, I was thinking in my head, different is bad. It can't be successful without me. But you know what? Not only will it be successful, but during COVID, when I was at home for a year, it was successful. They were doing a very good job running things when I was at home with COVID. That was a test, and I was too blind to even see that I had put it to the test. And you know what? They killed it. The guys are going to be great. What will Leaf do now? What's Leaf going to do without me? I think they're going to do some of the same stuff. I think you'll see lots of web exclusives that are really creative. I think they'll sign some of the hottest young athletes in the game. Now we're getting more and more NIL. I think you'll see a lot of celebrities. I mean, that's one thing that we did at Leaf, is we signed the biggest names in the world, and we made incredible pop culture products. I think you'll see that continue. I think you're going to see Leaf become more corporate. Because honestly, I'm one of the least corporate guys to ever step foot in this hobby. Not stupid hobby. It's stupid to me that I acted like that, but I was the least corporate guy ever. I didn't care about corporate. That was a stage of Leaf that was be different. Pivot. Do everything differently than it's been done. Don't, caution to the wind. No caution to the wind. Just do whatever you want to do. Do whatever you think's right. People don't like it, suck it. If you do like it, great. And that's fine when you're an up-and-coming company trying to build something from nothing in a world where everything is stacked against you. Because the business is not a fair competitive landscape. Everything is stacked against young, up-and-coming companies like we were in 2010. The reality is, we did that. We did that. We were edgy. We were creative. We did cool stuff. We took chances. We took heat. We made mistakes. I made mistakes. But the reality is, we've now outgrown, I'll say now, Leaf has outgrown this be edgy to every second. And again, they'll be edgy. They're very smart. They're going to be edgy. The difference is, I had a thirst to be somewhat controversial because I knew that would get people talking. And the reality, you don't have to be that way. You choose to be that way. I don't think Leaf will ride the edge of controversy the way I did. I don't think they will do crazy things just to make people go nuts, good and bad. I think they will have very thoughtful creativity because they got those people to do it. I'm very bullish. I don't think they're going to fold up and start making mail-in products that are just throwaway products without thought. I think you're going to see even more creativity put in because now the people that are there don't have someone like me in the way of some of their creativity. Because again, when you're a bold, aggressive leader, and this is a flaw of bold, aggressive leaders, like I think I was, you are the gate. You're the gatekeeper, and you let some good ideas through, but some you stop. And some you hamper, and some of your own agendas and things you want to do, you push. And I think I was guilty of some of those things. So I think at the end of the day, This is going to be really interesting to watch. I think Leaf's going to be wildly creative. It's going to be different. It'll be more controlled, I bet. I think it'll be more corporate. I think you're going to see nice, clean press releases. Not me going on Twitter ranting with all caps. I think you'll see more corporate communications with customers. And some people say, we don't want corporate communications. We want BG's candid, just tell us how it is communication. Well, no, you don't. Because the fact is, we outgrew that 5 years ago. I just didn't. The fact is, having good, strong customer service, being corporate doesn't mean you can't give good customer service, even though it's become somewhat synonymous in our business. The more corporate you are, the worse your customer service is. But I think you can have a more corporate atmosphere where you don't have the CEO taking his opinions and throwing them all over the place and being this wild industry whatever. I don't think you have to have that. And I don't think they will. Looking at who they have and who's coming in, man, it's very bullish. So, this was about a couple things today. Number one, it's about me saying, you know what? I'm a flawed guy. I know it. It's about saying, you know what? I didn't give all the credit where it was deserved. So I say right now, guys, girls on my team, you are incredible. You were loyal to me. You were my friends. Josh, Greg, Joe, Adam, CJ, Kevin, Jim K, everybody. My design team, Chris Barr, Mike Bedard, Adam. Everybody. Incredible team. Thank you. Terry, Cass, Kristen, Elvira. Everybody. Incredible team. You did great. You were rock stars. I'm giving you all the credit now. Because an idea without execution is just talk. Any idea I ever came up with that was brilliant, and maybe I had a couple, you executed them. Thank you. Thanks for being my friends. Thanks for your loyalty. But the main message here is not anything about me having this mea culpa that I feel like I could have been nicer, kinder, or that Leaf's not over because the CEO left. Tons of companies have had founders leave. Steve Jobs. Oh yeah, I'm not comparing myself to these people. I'm just saying. Steve Jobs, Jeff Bezos, Bill Gates. These people leave. Founders leave companies all the time. Jack Dorsey at Twitter. Now it's Elon land. The founders leave all the time. And yeah, some businesses don't succeed, but a lot do. And it's great when you know what's behind the scenes, because I can tell you, and you know that I know, and I'll call it like I see it. I'll tell you if it's not good or if the future's not bright. It's bright here. The pieces are right. It's just going to be different. All this to say, the main reason for all this stuff is to say that no one person is bigger than a company. No one person is the king of the hobby, and guys will self-promote to all end, including myself back in the old days. We're all part of a machine that has to operate effectively. You may be a $30 billion person who thinks you're going to come in and take over the whole industry. You may be the old guard that has run the industry for the last 5 years or 10 years and feels like you should be allowed to do it forever. You could be upstart companies that think you should have the right to do it because you love it more, you want it more. You understand, if any one of these pieces is successful in wiping out the other pieces, there is no business. If Fanatics cuts off all the distributors, there is no distribution business for sports cards. If Panini gets bought by Fanatics, there is no business for distributors. If we de-emphasize the value of the store, now that stores are opening at a record pace still, even in this market that's a little soft, we wreck the business. If we can the breakers and talk crap about the breakers constantly, we hurt the business. No one piece is the most important piece of the business. The manufacturer cannot exist without the distributor, can't exist without the store, which can't exist without the customer. If anything, the customer is the most important. But no one piece in this hierarchy besides the customer is everything. And I learned that at Leaf, that I wasn't everything. And now that reminds me that in this hobby, as big a deal as I thought I was, or as big a mouth as I had, or as many things, and some of them are really wise things that need to be said. I do believe that. Some of it was garbage. Some of it was just arguing for arguing's sake. But the fact is, I realize that I'm just a piece of an incredible business, an incredible hobby. And I now have found my piece in the hobby. I have found this platform where I'm going to tell you how it is. I'm not going to pull punches, and I'm going to interview people and ask them questions that no one else has the freaking balls to ask them. But I'm gonna. Why? Because you need to know. We, W-E, all capital, are all in this together. We at Leaf, we're all in it together. Ruben and Fanatics, they have their own we, they're together. Mark Warsop and company at Panini, they are a we who is it all together. But it's not just in those operations. The we is much bigger than that. The we is the manufacturer, the distributor, the store, the breaker, the end consumer, the break consumer, people at home who just love football and want to buy a Josh Allen card and who are not collectors, who we need to reach out to and find those people. That's the collective we. And when we collectively hope for, predict, naysay, negative to death, any piece of the food chain, we're hurting ourselves as an industry and as a business. And so while we can be critical and say, hey, I think this is a real concern about this company going forward, or this monopoly, or this whatever, I think we also should spend just as much time saying, you know what? Job well done. And today, that's job well done, Leaf, and I can't wait to see what you do. Please, it's not my legacy anymore. I'll be rooting for you. Do it for the customer. Do it for the store. Do it for the distributor. Do it for the breaker. Do it for the collective we, not just your we. Just like I should have only done things for the collective we and for the Leaf we. And too often, it was BRI, it was BG. So as far as I'm concerned, Leaf CEO is dead. BG is dead. Don't call me BG. Don't call me Leaf CEO. That was a piece of a legacy, and it's over. Today, it's Big Bri the Deal Guy. Big Bri, no holds barred. I'm going to do something for the hobby in a different way. And tomorrow it could be something completely different. But until then, I felt like this was important to say, hey, don't lose your confidence in a company just because the founder or CEO leaves. Look at what's left. And what's left was the most hugely valuable part of what's always been there. And in this hobby, we don't forget those pieces in the we, because they are the most valuable pieces of what has always been there. Whether a new company tries to come in and take over the world, whether a company tries to defend itself or whatever, we collectively are all critical pieces, and we should all be rooting for success all the way around. Let's see if we can do that. Guys, I'm sorry this was like a rant and a mea culpa and a confessional. Today you were my priest. I got to be in the confessional with you. Thanks for listening to me. I promise you, I won't be sappy next time and tell you how much I love this and love that. I'll be honest with you about everything. I was today. But the next one's going to be good. I'm working on a monster interview that's going to blow you away. And I'm going to have some shorts. Watch for shorts. I'm going to pop out some 2 and 3 minute content real soon. It's going to be a blast. Guys, I don't want to talk anymore today. I need to reflect a little bit. And I hope you'll reflect on what the collective we means and how we can support us and keep this thing going as a great business and a great hobby. I'll catch you guys next time. Next time, I promise you, no more self-introspection. We're going to get busy and talk hobby. I'll talk to you soon. Thanks. See you next time.